So hello again, it's Stephen D20. Been thinking more on this idea of Schrodinger's Jesus, and I think I'm finding it a very appealing way to come at Christianity from a modern physical standpoint, which I've been trying to do, as I had mentioned with Christian Baxter on his channel. But this is just like an idea of genius that has come from Jacob Faturechi, and the idea that Jesus can be in multiple states at the same time. So sort of like a quantum idea, but of course, at the bottom of our Newtonian physics is quantum physics, and we know that now. We know that even though Newtonian physics, thermodynamics can predict things in the real world to a very high degree, we know that they're not at the bottom of reality, because there are errors as you get better and better measurement. You find that Newtonian physics fails because of quantum aspects. So there's this idea of there are possible outcomes to quantum activity, and those outcomes are probabilistic. They're not determined. They're not in the way that Newtonian physics is determined. So Jacob was saying how for him, Christianity was actually a step back from Judaism, because you're going from a monotheistic Judaism back to a polytheistic, almost a Roman or Greek, where you have a triune God, where you have the three gods. And of course, we would argue, well, I'm in the Orthodox Church, we would argue, well, no, it's one God in three persons, and he would just say, well, you're hand waving at that. But what you could argue, I think, and what I think I would like to argue, is that it's that Judaism is in a Newtonian physics scenario where activities give determined 100% results. And in that world, you have a set of premises that always lead to an exact answer. So the idea of the law being that. But what I might argue is that Christianity is a step towards the realization that the world is at bottom quantum place. And in the quantum place, the outcomes of activity are determined by the Schrodinger equation, and the Schrodinger equation is extremely accurate. I think it's the most accurate theory in all of physics. We know that things behave in this way, that there are multiple outcomes that are possible. There are assigned probabilities, and that those probabilities all exist until there is an observation. And once there is an observation, then that wave function collapses. We don't know what that means. There's no idea how we get from that quantum multiplicity of probability into our determined thermodynamic Newtonian world. But it does, and it appears to be an observational artifact, that's interesting in itself. If you look towards a God that's in a quantum state, he collapses into a singular state. So, perhaps that's what's going on at the heart of it. And then the other thing that might be just tacked on to that is that, that science knows that quantum world exists, but when you get towards a practical engineering aspect or a practical scientific aspect, you just sort of say, well, we know that that's there, but we're going to proceed as though it were Newtonian plus some factor that corrects, rather than really understanding how that happens. Nobody understands how that actually happens. So Newtonian plus, we can get things done. Let's move on. And that's what I would say that perhaps the Jewish position is that Newtonian plus is how science gets to work, how the world seems to work to a very accurate degree. And this We know that maybe ultimately that's not right, but we can't know God, right? He's unknowable, so why even speculate? And then the Christian answer might be, well, we can speculate because if we do, we can have a better understanding of the base reality, even though that understanding ultimately is of an unknowable God, which I think we all agree with. So, but also in that science has a particular kind of a faith in the quantum. There's a faith that it's there, but we don't understand how it works. And so the same thing as we go from the law to faith in Christianity, from Judaism to Christianity, we're going from that Newtonian plus thermodynamic world to a quantum belief system. So that's an idea. Anyway, that's it for today.